the day the sun disappeared. Some stories are written in books, others are written in scars. This is one of them. Have you ever missed someone so much that every morning you hoped today would finally bring them back? Most people know that feeling. Rowan knew it better than anyone. He lived in a quiet mountain village called Alaris, where everyone knew each other by name. The mornings smelled of fresh bread, the evenings were filled with laughter, and every child believed the world ended beyond the dark mountains. Life was simple, maybe too simple. Every morning, Rowan woke before sunrise, not because he loved mornings, but because his mother did. Before she disappeared, she always used to tell him, "Never sleep through a sunrise. Every sunrise is the world giving you another chance." She had been gone for 10 years, but Rowan still climbed the same small hill every morning, just to watch the first light touch the village. It was the only habit he had never broken. The villagers often saw him standing there alone. Some felt sorry for him. Others whispered, "He's still waiting." They were right. He was. Not because he believed miracles happened, but because forgetting her felt worse than losing her. Rowan lived with his grandfather, Elias. Elias was a quiet man with rough hands and tired eyes. He rarely smiled, but every evening, he made sure there was food on the table. Love didn't always sound like kind words. Sometimes, it sounded like chopping firewood before dawn, or fixing a torn jacket without being asked. One evening, while they were eating dinner, Rowan finally asked the question he had carried since childhood. "Grandfather, do you think Mother is really gone?" Elias stopped eating. The room became silent. The fire cracked softly in the corner. After a long moment, he looked at Rowan. "I don't know." It wasn't the answer Rowan wanted, but it was the only honest one. That night, the village gathered in the square for the festival of the first light. It was Alaris's oldest tradition. Children carried small lanterns, musicians played old songs, families laughed together. For a few hours, it felt like nothing bad had ever happened. Rowan stood at the edge of the crowd, watching, listening, wondering what life would have been like if his mother were standing beside him. Then, an old woman slowly walked onto the stage. Everyone fell silent. She was the oldest person in the village. People called her the keeper of stories. She never spoke unless she believed the village needed to hear something. Her voice was soft, but every word carried weight. "When I was a little girl," she began, "my grandmother told me that the sun is not just a star. It is a promise. And one day, when people stop believing in hope, that promise will be broken." Some villagers laughed nervously, others looked away. Rowan couldn't explain why, but for the first time in years, he felt afraid. Not of the story, but of how serious everyone suddenly looked. Far above the village, hidden behind the mountains, something ancient had already begun to wake, and before another sunrise arrived, the entire world would change forever. The happiest days of our lives often end without warning. No thunder, no signs. Just one ordinary morning. That changes everything. The next morning, Rowan woke before dawn, just as he always did. He climbed the old hill outside the village, expecting to watch the first golden light spread across the mountains. But something felt wrong. The air was colder than usual. The birds were silent. Even the wind refused to move. He looked toward the eastern sky. Nothing. No orange light. No pink clouds. Only darkness. He waited. 5 minutes. 10. 30. The sun never appeared. Confused, Rowan hurried back to the village. People were already gathering in the streets. Everyone was looking at the sky. Some whispered prayers. Others simply stared in silence. Children asked the same question again and again. When will morning come? No one had an answer. Hours passed, yet the world remained trapped between night and dawn. The village bell rang for the first time in years. It was only used during great disasters. The elder council gathered in the ancient hall. Every family waited outside. The silence felt heavier than fear. After nearly 2 hours, the doors finally opened. The oldest elder stepped forward. His face had lost all color. His hands were shaking. "We searched every ancient record we have. There is only one explanation." He paused. "The sun has not died. It has been taken." A wave of panic spread through the crowd. Who could steal the sun? Is this the end? Will we all die? No one could answer. That night, the cold became unbearable. Without sunlight, the crops began to wilt. Flowers closed their petals. The river that had flowed for centuries started freezing at its edges. Animals disappeared into the forest. Even the stars looked dimmer. Days turned into weeks. Darkness became normal. People stopped smiling. The village market closed. Children no longer played outside. Hope slowly faded, like the last ember of a dying fire. Only Rowan refused to give up. Every morning, he still climbed the hill, even though there was no sunrise to watch. One evening, while returning home, he noticed a tiny light inside his grandfather's attic. Curious, he climbed the wooden stairs. His grandfather, Elias, was opening an old wooden chest covered in dust. Inside were dozens of ancient books. One book was wrapped in black cloth. Elias looked at Rowan with worried eyes. "I hoped I would never have to open this." Carefully, he unfolded the cloth. On the first page, there was only one sentence. "When the world forgets the warmth of the sun, the chosen one will follow the light that still remembers the sky." Rowan frowned. Who is the chosen one? Elias slowly closed the book. "I don't know, but I fear the answer is already walking toward us." Outside the window, far beyond the mountains, something golden flashed across the dark sky for only a single second. Then it vanished. Neither Rowan nor his grandfather realized they had just witnessed the first sign that the sun was trying to call for help. Sometimes, the smallest sign is enough to change a person's destiny forever. For nearly 30 days, the sun never returned. Darkness became a part of life. People no longer asked when morning would come. They had stopped believing it ever would. The streets of Alaris grew quieter with each passing day. Homes that were once filled with laughter now echoed with silence. The bakery closed. The blacksmith stopped working. The school stood empty. Everywhere Rowan looked, he saw people giving up. One evening, he visited the old hill again, the same hill where he had watched every sunrise with his mother. Now, there was nothing to see except endless darkness. He sat on the cold grass and whispered, "If you're still out there, give me a reason not to lose hope." For a long time, nothing happened. Then, a warm breeze touched his face. It was impossible. The air had been freezing for weeks. A single golden feather slowly floated down from the dark sky. It danced through the air before landing gently in Rowan's hands. It wasn't burning, yet it felt warmer than any fire. The moment his fingers touched it, the feather began to glow. A soft voice echoed around him. Not loud, not frightening, just sad. "The light has not died. It is waiting." Rowan looked around. No one was there. The hill was completely empty. Yet the voice continued, "Follow the path before the last hope fades." Suddenly, the feather rose into the air. It floated toward the mountains, toward the black forest. Rowan's heart raced. The black forest. The place every child had feared since birth. The place where no traveler had ever returned. Back in the village, Elias saw Rowan preparing a small bag. "You're leaving." It wasn't a question. Rowan nodded. "If I stay here, nothing will change. If I go, maybe everyone has a chance." Elias walked to an old wooden cupboard. From inside, he took out a worn leather cloak. It had belonged to Rowan's father. "I hoped you would never need this." He placed the cloak over Rowan's shoulders. Then, for the first time in years, he hugged him. "I'm not asking you to be fearless. I'm asking you to remember why you're fighting." Rowan couldn't speak. He simply nodded. As he walked through the sleeping village, he noticed doors opening quietly. One by one, the villagers stepped outside. No one tried to stop him. No one called him a hero. They simply watched. Because deep inside, they knew this ordinary boy was carrying the last hope they had left. The golden feather floated ahead. Beyond the final house, beyond the frozen river, stood the black forest. Its trees reached into the darkness like giant shadows. The glowing feather stopped before the entrance. For a moment, everything became silent. Then, the trees slowly moved apart, revealing a narrow path of golden light. The forest was inviting him inside. Rowan took one deep breath. He looked back at his village one last time. Then, he stepped forward. The trees closed behind him, the path disappeared, and somewhere deep inside the forest, something ancient opened its eyes. The kingdom without time. There are places in this world where maps refuse to lead, because some places were never meant to be found. Rowan had been walking for what felt like hours, or maybe days. Inside the black forest, time no longer made sense. The golden feather floated silently ahead, never too fast, never too slow. The deeper he walked, the stranger the forest became. The trees were no longer ordinary. Some had silver leaves that glowed in the darkness. Others looked as if they had turned to stone centuries ago. Then Rowan noticed something impossible. There were no animals, no birds, no insects, not even a single sound. It was as if the entire forest was holding its breath. Suddenly, the feather stopped. In front of Rowan stood an enormous stone gate. It stretched so high that its top disappeared into the darkness. Across the gate, ancient words were carved. "Only those who carry hope may enter. Everyone else will remain lost forever." As Rowan stepped closer, the gate opened by itself. A warm breeze rushed past him. For the first time in nearly a month, he felt warmth. He slowly walked through, and what he saw stole every word from his mouth. Beyond the gate was not another forest. It was an entire kingdom. Golden towers touched the clouds. Crystal rivers reflected a light that had no sun. Gardens bloomed with flowers that never faded. Children laughed in the streets. Merchants sold fresh fruit. Musicians played joyful songs. It looked perfect, but something felt wrong. Very wrong. Everyone Rowan passed looked exactly the same age. Not a single old person, not a single baby. No wrinkles, no gray hair, no signs that anyone had ever grown older. A young baker smiled at him. "Welcome." Rowan smiled back. "How old are you?" The baker laughed. 18. "How long have you been 18? The smile slowly disappeared. He looked toward the sky. "I don't remember." As Rowan continued walking, he asked the same question to dozens of people. Every answer was different, yet somehow, every person said the same final words. "I don't remember." The kingdom had forgotten time itself. Then, a church bell rang. Everyone stopped moving. Every smile vanished. Without saying a word, the entire city turned toward the tallest castle at the center of the kingdom. Its highest tower was wrapped in black chains, and inside those chains, Rowan saw it. A tiny golden light. It flickered weakly, like a candle, moments away from dying. His heart began to race. It wasn't just any light. Somehow, he knew. That tiny glow was a piece of the missing sun. Just then, a calm voice spoke behind him. "You shouldn't look at the tower." Rowan turned around. An old man stood there wearing a long gray cloak. Unlike everyone else, His hair was white. His face carried the weight of countless years. His eyes were filled with sadness. He looked at Rowan for a long moment before speaking again. "You still remember time, which means you don't belong here. Some prisons are built with stone. Others are built with fear." The old man looked into Rowan's eyes for a long moment. Then he whispered, "Come with me before someone sees you." Without waiting for an answer, he disappeared into a narrow street. Rowan followed. The cheerful city slowly faded behind them. The streets became darker. The houses looked abandoned. Broken clocks hung from every wall. Each one showed a different time. Yet, none of them were moving. The old man finally stopped in front of a tiny wooden house. Inside, hundreds of books covered every wall. Ancient maps, dusty scrolls, and dozens of stopped clocks. "I am Aldrin," the old man said. "I was once the royal historian." Rowan frowned. "Once?" Aldrin smiled sadly. "In this kingdom, no one has a future, so no one needs history anymore." He walked toward an old painting covered with cloth. Slowly, he pulled the cloth away. The painting showed the kingdom exactly as Rowan had seen it. Except one thing. A bright golden sun filled the sky. Children ran beneath its light. Flowers covered the fields. People looked alive. "This was our world," Aldrin whispered, "before the Shadow King." "Who is he?" Rowan asked. Aldrin's face turned pale. "He was once our greatest ruler. He loved his people so much that he feared losing them. When disease came, when age claimed his queen, he searched for a way to stop time itself. He found an ancient power hidden beneath the castle. It promised him one impossible gift. No one would ever grow old again. But every gift," Aldrin paused, "demands a price." The king chained the sun inside the highest tower. The moment the chains closed, time stopped. No child grew older. No flower died. No one aged. But no one truly lived anymore. The kingdom became trapped in a single endless day. Rowan looked toward the castle through the window. "The light I saw." Aldrin nodded. "That is all that remains of the sun. If it dies, the entire world will remain in darkness forever." Just then, boom. The ground shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. A deep horn echoed across the kingdom. Aldrin's face filled with fear. "No." "He knows." "Who knows?" Rowan asked. "The Shadow King. He has felt your arrival." Outside, thousands of black birds suddenly filled the sky. Each one flew toward the castle. At the very top of the highest tower, a tall figure stepped onto the balcony. His long black cloak moved without the wind, even from miles away. Rowan could feel his eyes watching him. Then, the Shadow King smiled. Not because Rowan had entered his kingdom, but because he had been waiting for him. Every kingdom has a secret. This kingdom buried its secret beneath silence. The Shadow King's smile disappeared into the darkness, but Rowan couldn't shake the feeling that those distant eyes had looked directly into his soul. The horn echoed once more. Within seconds, the cheerful streets became empty. Doors slammed shut. Windows were locked. Even the birds vanished. Aldrin grabbed Rowan's arm. "We have to leave. His watchers will be here soon." They hurried through narrow alleys until they reached an abandoned clock tower at the edge of the kingdom. The tower had stopped ticking centuries ago. Inside, Aldrin lit a small lantern. Its flame burned blue instead of orange. "There are things," he whispered, "that even the Shadow King fears." Rowan looked confused. "I thought he controlled everything." Aldrin slowly shook his head. "He controls time, but not hope." From beneath the wooden floor, Aldrin pulled out an old iron chest. It was covered with strange symbols that glowed faintly. The lock opened with a loud click. Inside, there was only one object, a rolled piece of golden parchment. Carefully, Aldrin placed it on the table. As soon as Rowan touched it, the parchment unfolded by itself. Lines of golden light spread across its surface. It wasn't an ordinary map. It was alive. The mountains moved, the rivers flowed, the forests changed shape before Rowan's eyes. "What is this?" Rowan whispered. Aldrin smiled for the first time. "This is the map of the last sunrise. It doesn't show where places are. It shows where they will be." Rowan stared in amazement. A tiny golden point began moving across the map. It stopped beneath the tallest tower of the castle. "The sun is imprisoned there," Aldrin said, "but no one can reach it. There must be a way." "There is." Aldrin's smile faded. "But the path is protected by 3 ancient trials. No one has survived them." Before Rowan could reply, a loud crash shook the tower. Boom! The front door burst open. Heavy footsteps echoed through the darkness. Tall soldiers in black armor entered one by one. Their faces were hidden behind silver masks. None of them spoke. Each carried a long spear made from black crystal. Aldrin's voice became barely a whisper. "The King's Watchers. They found us." The leader slowly stepped forward. He pointed his spear directly at Rowan. Then, for the first time, one of the Watchers spoke. His voice sounded cold, almost inhuman. "The king has been waiting for you, Rowan. But he has one question. Will you come willingly? Or should we bring you by force?" The lantern flickered. The room fell silent. Rowan tightened his grip on the golden map. For the first time since leaving Alaris, he realized one terrifying truth. The Shadow King hadn't been trying to stop him. He had been leading him here, from the very beginning. The first trial. The greatest battles are never fought with swords. They are fought inside the heart. The Watchers stood silently. Their black armor reflected the blue light of Aldrin's lantern. No anger, no emotion. Only obedience. The leader took one slow step forward. "The king is waiting." Rowan tightened his grip on the golden map. "I'm not going with you." For the first time, the Watcher smiled. "You have already begun." Before Rowan could understand those words, the floor beneath him cracked. A blinding golden light burst from the map. The entire room disappeared. The Watchers, Aldrin, the tower, everything was gone. Rowan opened his eyes. He was standing in the middle of a beautiful meadow. Warm sunlight touched his face. He froze. The sun was shining. Birds sang overhead. Children laughed nearby. His heart pounded. This can't be real. Then he heard a familiar voice. "Rowan." He turned around. His mother stood only a few steps away. She looked exactly as she had the day she disappeared. The same smile, the same gentle eyes, the same blue scarf around her neck. She ran toward him and wrapped him in a hug. For a moment, Rowan forgot everything. The darkness, the kingdom, the Shadow King. He was just a little boy again. His mother held his face in her hands. "I've missed you so much." Tears filled Rowan's eyes. "I searched for you every day." She smiled. "I know. Come home." She pointed toward a small cottage beside a peaceful river. Smoke rose from the chimney. The garden was full of flowers. It was everything Rowan had dreamed about for 10 long years. He took one step toward the house. Then, he noticed something strange. His mother left no footprints on the grass. The birds had stopped singing. The river wasn't moving. Everything was perfectly still, as if the world itself had frozen. His mother's smile slowly faded. "Rowan, don't look so closely. Just stay. You'll never be lonely again." A cold voice echoed through the sky. "The first trial has begun." A giant stone mirror rose from the earth. Golden words appeared across its surface. "Choose a beautiful lie or a painful truth." Rowan looked at his mother, then at the silent world around him. His hands trembled. Every part of him wanted this moment to be real, but deep inside, he remembered something Elias had once told him. Hope built on a lie will always become another prison. Rowan closed his eyes. A single tear rolled down his face. I'm sorry. When he opened his eyes again, he stepped away from the cottage, away from his mother, away from the life he had always wanted. The moment he made his choice, the sky shattered like glass. The cottage vanished. The sunlight disappeared. His mother's smile faded into the wind. Only her final words remained. I'm proud of you. Darkness returned. The meadow was gone. Rowan stood alone inside a vast stone chamber. The mirror glowed brightly. One sentence slowly appeared. The first trial. Completed. But before Rowan could breathe in relief, a deep laugh echoed through the chamber. Slow. Calm. Ancient. The Shadow King's voice filled the darkness. Most people choose the lie. That is why you interest me. Every trial takes something from you. The second one takes what makes you, you. The Shadow King's laughter slowly faded. The stone chamber trembled. Then, everything became silent. A narrow doorway appeared in the wall. No guards, no chains, no traps, just darkness. Rowan took a deep breath and stepped inside. The tunnel stretched endlessly before him. The air grew colder with every step. After several minutes, he reached another chamber. Unlike the first one, this room was completely empty, except for a single candle burning in the center. Its flame never moved, no matter how strong the wind became. As Rowan walked closer, he noticed another person standing beside the candle. It was him. The same face, the same clothes, the same eyes. The only difference, the other Rowan had no shadow. He smiled. So, you finally made it. Rowan stepped back. Who are you? The stranger laughed softly. I am the Rowan who never lost his mother. The Rowan who never felt pain? The Rowan who never had to suffer. He slowly circled around Rowan. You've been carrying grief for 10 years. You miss her every single day. You smile, but you're tired. You pretend to be strong, but every night you wish someone would save you. Rowan remained silent. Every word was true. The stranger stopped directly in front of him. I can end all of it. No more pain. No more fear. No more loneliness. Just give me your shadow. Rowan frowned. My shadow? The stranger pointed toward the floor. Rowan looked down. His shadow was still there, moving with him, breathing with him. It's only a shadow, the stranger whispered. You don't need it. You'll still be Rowan. You'll simply stop feeling pain. For a moment, the offer sounded tempting. No more nightmares, no more guilt, no more sadness, no more fear. Then, Rowan remembered his grandfather. Love, loss, hope. Every important memory in his life had come with pain. Without pain, would those memories still matter? He slowly shook his head. No. The stranger sighed. You chose suffering. I chose living, Rowan replied. The smile disappeared from the stranger's face. His body began to crack like broken glass. Dark smoke poured from the cracks. His gentle voice became deep and terrifying. You will regret this. The room exploded into darkness. The candle went out. For several seconds, Rowan couldn't see anything. Then, a bright golden door appeared. Above it, glowing letters slowly formed. Second trial. Completed. As Rowan reached for the handle, he heard footsteps behind him. Slow, heavy, deliberate. He turned around. Standing at the far end of the chamber was the Shadow King. For the first time, they stood face to face. He wasn't a monster. He wasn't wearing a crown of fire. He looked human. His eyes were filled with sadness instead of anger. He looked at Rowan for a long moment before speaking. "You've survived 2 trials. No one has done that in over 500 years." He took one step closer. "Tell me, Rowan, if you had the power to stop everyone you love from dying, would you really refuse it?" Rowan didn't answer, because for the first time, he wasn't sure. Every hero reaches a moment when the greatest enemy is not darkness, but doubt. The Shadow King stood only a few steps away. His black cloak moved gently through the silent chamber. There was no anger in his eyes, only exhaustion. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Finally, the king broke the silence. "Do you know why people call me a monster?" Rowan remained still. The king continued, "Because history is always written by those who survive." He slowly raised his hand. The chamber around them disappeared. Instead, Rowan saw another world, a kingdom filled with sunlight, children laughing, families celebrating, music echoing through the streets. The Shadow King looked different. He was younger. He smiled often. He wasn't feared. He was loved. 500 years ago, he whispered, "I wasn't called the Shadow King. I was King Lucian. I believed no father should bury his child. I believed no husband should lose his wife. But then, a sickness came. The beautiful kingdom changed. People collapsed in the streets. Hospitals overflowed. Parents cried beside their children. The queen grew weaker every day. Lucian held her hand until her final breath. Rowan watched silently. The king's voice trembled. I begged the heavens to save her. There was no answer. So, I searched somewhere else. The vision changed again. Deep beneath the castle, Lucian found a glowing crystal surrounded by darkness. A voice whispered, "Take the sun, and I will stop time." Lucian accepted. The moment he touched the crystal, black chains shot into the sky. They wrapped around the sun. Light vanished. Time stopped. The sickness disappeared. No one grew older. No one died. But Lucian closed his eyes. No one truly lived again. The vision faded. The stone chamber returned. Rowan looked at him differently now. "You didn't do it for power." Lucian shook his head. "I did it because I couldn't accept losing the people I loved." He looked directly into Rowan's eyes. "You lost your mother. I lost my queen. We are not so different." The room became silent. For the first time, Rowan understood. Sometimes, good people make terrible choices. Not because they are evil, but because they are afraid. Lucian slowly extended his hand. "Help me. Together, we can build a world where no one ever says goodbye again." Rowan stared at the king's hand. He imagined Alaris, his grandfather, his mother. A world without death, a world without pain. It sounded perfect. But then, he remembered the kingdom outside. People smiling, without truly living. Children who never grew up. Flowers that never changed. A world frozen forever. Rowan slowly stepped back. If life never changes, it stops being life. Lucian lowered his hand. A sad smile appeared on his face. "I knew you would choose the truth." Suddenly, the castle shook violently. The golden map began glowing inside Rowan's bag. A loud crack echoed through the chamber. One of the black chains holding the sun had broken. A single ray of sunlight pierced through the ceiling. For the first time in 500 years, real sunlight entered the castle. Lucian looked up, not with fear, but with tears in his eyes. "It's waking," he whispered. Rowan frowned. "What is waking?" Before Lucian could answer, the entire castle trembled. A deafening roar echoed from beneath the ground. Not human, not animal. Something far older? The floor split apart. Dark smoke poured from the endless abyss below. Lucian's face turned completely pale. He took a step back. No, it can't be. Rowan looked into the darkness. Two enormous golden eyes slowly opened beneath the castle. Lucian whispered the words he had feared for 500 years. The creature that gave me this curse has finally awakened. The last guardian. Every ancient kingdom has a secret, but some secrets were buried because the world was never meant to see them again. The castle continued to shake. Massive cracks spread across the marble floor. Dust rained from the ceiling. The two enormous golden eyes beneath the abyss never blinked. They simply watched. Rowan couldn't move. He had never felt fear like this before. Not when the sun disappeared. Not when he entered the Black Forest. This was different. It felt as if the darkness itself had come alive. Lucian grabbed Rowan's arm. We have to leave. The floor collapsed behind them. Both of them ran through the endless hallways of the castle. Statues crashed to the ground. Windows exploded outward. The chains around the sun rattled violently. Deep below, something enormous was climbing upward. Every step made the entire kingdom tremble. As they reached the throne hall, the great doors slammed shut on their own. A circle of golden light appeared beneath Rowan's feet. The golden feather inside his pocket floated into the air. Its glow became brighter than ever before. A voice echoed throughout the hall. Not loud, not angry. Ancient. The last guardian has been found. Rowan looked around. Who's there? The walls began to glow. One by one, hundreds of old paintings came to life. Kings, queens, warriors, children. Every single one bowed their heads toward Rowan. The voice spoke again. For 500 years, we have waited. Lucian slowly knelt, his eyes filled with tears. So, the prophecy was true. The throne behind him slowly moved aside. Hidden beneath it, a staircase descended deep underground. Cold air rushed upward. Lucian looked at Rowan. There is something I've never told anyone. The sun isn't protected by chains. It's protected by a guardian. A guardian? Lucian nodded. The first king created one being whose only purpose was to protect the light. But when I imprisoned the sun, I imprisoned the guardian too. The castle shook again. A deafening roar echoed from below. Pieces of the ceiling crashed down. Lucian's voice became urgent. If the guardian is still alive, he is our only hope. Without another word, they descended the staircase. The air grew warmer. The darkness slowly disappeared. At the very bottom, they entered a gigantic underground chamber. In its center stood an enormous stone statue. A warrior, nearly 30 feet tall. He wore ancient golden armor. His sword rested against the ground. His eyes were closed. He looked as if he had been sleeping for centuries. The golden feather floated toward the statue. Then, it touched the warrior's chest. For one heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, a deep crack echoed through the chamber. Golden light spread across the statue. Stone began falling away. A hand moved. Then another. The giant slowly opened his eyes. They shone brighter than the sun itself. His voice echoed across the chamber. Who dares awaken the last guardian? Rowan took one nervous step forward. My name is Rowan. I'm here to bring the sun home. The guardian stared at him in silence. Then, for the first time in 500 years, he smiled. Then your greatest trial begins now. A true guardian is not chosen by strength, but by the choices they make when no one is watching. The giant warrior slowly stepped down from his stone pedestal. Each step shook the ancient chamber. Golden light flowed through the cracks in his armor like rivers of fire. He stood before Rowan, towering over him. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he asked only one question. Why do you seek the sun? Rowan answered without hesitation. To save my village. The guardian remained silent. His glowing eyes never left Rowan's face. Then, he slowly shook his head. That is not the truth. The chamber fell silent. Rowan frowned. It is the truth. Again, the guardian shook his head. No, you seek the sun because you hope it will return what you lost. The word struck Rowan harder than any sword. He wanted to deny it, but he couldn't. Deep inside, he still hoped. If the sun returned, maybe somehow, his mother would return too. The guardian raised his sword. I'm giving you one final chance. Answer honestly. If saving the sun means you will never see your mother again, will you still continue? The question echoed through the chamber. Rowan closed his eyes. His heart felt heavy. He remembered every lonely birthday, every morning on the hill, every night wishing she would walk through the front door. Tears rolled down his face. He whispered, I want her back. More than anything. He looked up. But if I choose one person, millions will lose their tomorrow. He took a deep breath. So, I'll let her go. The guardian stared at him. Then, for the first time, he smiled. Not because Rowan had answered correctly, but because he had answered honestly. The giant slowly planted his sword into the ground. A wave of golden light spread across the chamber. The walls began to disappear. Hidden behind them was an enormous bridge made of pure crystal. Floating above the bridge was a single sword. Its blade shone brighter than the stars. The guardian spoke. This is Dawnbringer. It is not the strongest sword. It cannot make you invincible. It cannot defeat evil by itself. It only does one thing. It reveals the truth. Rowan carefully reached for the sword. The moment his fingers touched the handle, the blade burst into golden light. At that exact moment, the entire kingdom shook violently. Far above, a terrifying roar echoed through the castle. The guardian's smile disappeared. He has awakened. Lucian looked toward the ceiling in horror. No, he's already here. Suddenly, the crystal bridge shattered. A wave of black smoke rushed into the chamber. The temperature dropped instantly. From the darkness, a massive claw reached forward. It wasn't human. It wasn't an animal. It was larger than a house. Its skin looked like living shadow. Slowly, the creature's head emerged. Its golden eyes locked onto Rowan. Then, it spoke, in a voice older than the mountains. Return my gift, or watch your world die. The guardian stepped in front of Rowan. For the first time, the ancient warrior drew his sword, and the greatest battle in 500 years was about to begin. Sometimes, the brightest light shines only once. The creature's roar shook the entire kingdom. The crystal bridge beneath Rowan's feet began to crack. Dust rained from the ceiling. The guardian stepped forward, raising Dawnbringer. For the first time in 500 years, the ancient warrior looked afraid, not for himself, but for Rowan. The creature slowly emerged from the darkness. It was enormous. Its body was made of living shadows. Golden cracks glowed beneath its skin, as if pieces of the sun were trapped inside it. Every breath it took froze the air. Lucian whispered, "The Eclipse Beast." The creature that gave me the cursed bargain. The beast's golden eyes locked onto Lucian. You broke our agreement. Lucian lowered his head. I know. I was blinded by grief. The beast let out a deep laugh. You asked for a world without death. I simply gave you one. You never asked for life. Those words struck Rowan like lightning. Lucian had never been tricked by a lie. He had been destroyed by an incomplete truth. The guardian tightened his grip on the sword. Enough. With a mighty roar, he charged. His golden blade sliced through the darkness. The chamber exploded with light. The Eclipse Beast was pushed back for the first time in centuries, but only for a moment. The beast swung one massive claw. Crash! The guardian flew across the chamber, smashing into a stone pillar. Golden cracks spread across his armor. Rowan ran toward him. Guardian! The ancient warrior slowly stood. His light was fading. Listen carefully. There is only one way to destroy the beast. Rowan helped him up. The sun cannot be freed until every chain is broken. There are 3 chains left, but each chain is protected by the beast itself. Lucian stepped forward. I'll help. The guardian looked at him. You have already carried this burden for 500 years. It is time for someone else to carry hope. The beast roared again. Black flames filled the chamber. The guardian smiled at Rowan. My duty was never to save the sun. It was to find the one worthy of carrying its light. He removed a glowing crystal from the center of his armor. It looked like a tiny sunrise trapped inside glass. He placed it in Rowan's hands. The moment Rowan touched it, warmth spread through his entire body. The crystal dissolved into golden light. Lines of light appeared across Dawnbringer. The sword awakened. It shone brighter than ever before. The guardian smiled. The light has chosen you. Before Rowan could answer, the beast attacked again. The guardian turned around. No! Rowan shouted. The ancient warrior raised his shield. A blinding explosion filled the chamber. For several seconds, nothing could be seen. When the light faded, the guardian was still standing, but only barely. His shield had shattered. Deep cracks covered his body. He looked at Rowan one final time. Then he smiled. The sun belongs to those who never stop hoping. His body slowly turned into thousands of golden particles. They drifted upward, like tiny stars returning to the sky. The last guardian was gone. The chamber became completely silent. Even the beast stopped moving. A blinding explosion filled the chamber. For several seconds, nothing could be seen. When the light faded, the guardian was still standing, but only barely. His shield had shattered. Deep cracks covered his body. He looked at Rowan one final time. Then he smiled. The sun belongs to those who never stop hoping. His body slowly turned into thousands of golden particles. They drifted upward, like tiny stars returning to the sky. The last guardian was gone. The chamber became completely silent. Even the beast stopped moving. Rowan stood frozen. Tears rolled down his face. He had known the guardian for only a short time, yet losing him felt like losing family. Lucian placed a hand on Rowan's shoulder. We don't have time to grieve. He pointed toward the castle tower. High above them, the first of the 3 black chains had begun to crack. The final journey has begun. Rowan wiped away his tears. He picked up Dawnbringer. Its golden light reflected in his determined eyes. For the first time, he wasn't fighting just for Alaris. He was fighting for everyone who still believed that darkness could end. The last sunrise. The end of every journey begins with one final choice. The golden particles of the last guardian slowly disappeared into the air. Silence filled the chamber. Even the eclipse beast stood motionless. For the first time, it wasn't smiling. It was watching Rowan, almost with curiosity. Rowan tightened his grip on Dawnbringer. The sword felt different now. Warmer, lighter, as if it had become part of him. Lucian looked toward the tower. We're running out of time. The beast grows stronger with every passing moment. The sun grows weaker. Without another word, they climbed the ancient staircase leading toward the highest tower. Each step felt heavier than the last. The walls around them were covered with paintings. Every painting showed the same kingdom, but in different years. Children becoming adults, families growing older, leaves changing with the seasons, life moving forward. Then suddenly, the painting stopped. The final painting showed the day the sun was chained. After that, every frame was completely blank. 500 years of nothing. Rowan slowly touched one empty frame. No birthdays, no new memories, no future. Lucian lowered his head. I stole tomorrow from my own people. Neither of them spoke again. When they reached the top, the great doors slowly opened. Cold wind rushed across the tower. There, hanging above the kingdom, was the sun. Not the blazing star that once lit the world, only a glowing golden sphere, wrapped in 3 enormous black chains. Its light flickered weakly, like a heart struggling to beat. The eclipse beast landed on the tower with a deafening roar. The entire castle shook. Black clouds swallowed the sky. The creature smiled. You still don't understand. It isn't the chains that keep the sun prisoner. It's fear. The beast looked directly at Rowan. So let me show you yours. Its golden eyes began to glow. Suddenly, the tower disappeared. Rowan found himself back in Alaris. The village was burning. Homes had collapsed. The frozen river had overflowed. People were screaming. He saw Elias lying on the ground, weak, barely breathing. His grandfather reached out his trembling hand. Rowan, you chose the sun, but you lost me. Rowan's heart shattered. He ran toward him. I'm here. I'm here. Before he could reach him, everything froze. The beast's voice echoed through the illusion. You can still save him. Break Dawnbringer. Walk away. Forget the sun. You'll wake up at home. Your grandfather will live. Your mother will return. Your village will be safe. For one life. It seems like a small price. Rowan stood frozen. The offer sounded real. It felt real. Every part of him wanted to believe it. Then, he remembered the Guardian's final words. The light belongs to those who never stop hoping. Rowan closed his eyes. When he opened them again, he raised Dawnbringer. This isn't hope. It's another lie. With one powerful swing, he shattered the illusion. The burning village vanished. The tower returned. The beast's smile disappeared. For the first time, it looked angry. Very angry. It roared so loudly that the clouds split apart. Above them, the first black chain around the sun cracked. A beam of golden light burst across the kingdom. People looked up. Children who had never seen daylight covered their eyes. Flowers began to bloom. The darkness had finally begun to lose, but 2 chains still remained, and the beast had only just begun to fight. Darkness does not fear swords. It fears those who refuse to surrender. The first chain had broken. For the first time in 500 years, real sunlight touched the kingdom. Children looked up in amazement. Old flowers bloomed again. The frozen fountains began to flow. Hope had returned, but only for a moment. The eclipse beast lifted its head toward the sky. Its body absorbed the remaining darkness surrounding the kingdom. It became even larger. Its golden eyes burned like 2 dying suns. You celebrate too early, it growled. As long as one chain remains, the sun belongs to me. With a single roar, thousands of shadow creatures poured from the cracks in the tower. They weren't soldiers. They weren't monsters. They looked like ordinary people, made entirely of darkness. Each one whispered the same words. Give up. Rest. You've done enough. They surrounded Rowan from every direction. He swung Dawnbringer. Golden light erased dozens of shadows. But for everyone that disappeared, 2 more emerged. Lucian fought beside him with an ancient spear. For the first time in centuries, he wasn't fighting to protect his kingdom. He was fighting to free it. The battle raged across the tower. The sky flashed with gold and black. Then, Lucian suddenly froze. One shadow had changed. It no longer looked like a monster. It looked like his queen. She smiled gently. Lucian, you promised we'd never be apart. His spear slipped from his hand. Tears filled his eyes. I'm sorry. I failed you. The queen held out her hand. Then, stay with me. You don't have to fight anymore. Rowan saw what was happening. Lucian, it's not her. But grief is louder than reason. Lucian stepped forward. The illusion smiled. Its hand turned into a blade of darkness. It struck straight through Lucian's chest. The illusion vanished. The real eclipse beast laughed. Lucian collapsed to his knees. Blood stained the white stone beneath him. Rowan ran to him. "Don't speak. We'll find a way." Lucian smiled weakly. "There is no more time." He looked toward the sun, then at Rowan. "For 500 years, I tried to hold on to yesterday. You must protect tomorrow." With trembling hands, he removed the royal ring from his finger. It was made of pure gold. At its center shone a tiny piece of sunlight. The key to the final chain. He placed it into Rowan's hand. The ring immediately merged with Dawnbringer. The sword erupted with brilliant golden light. The eclipse beast roared in fury. "No! It belongs to me." Lucian looked at Rowan one last time. His voice was barely a whisper. "Thank you for reminding me that love is not about holding on. It's about letting go." A peaceful smile appeared on his face. Then, his eyes slowly closed. King Lucian, the man history had remembered as the Shadow King, was finally at peace. At that exact moment, the second chain around the sun shattered. Golden light exploded across the heavens. Only one chain remained, and the eclipse beast was no longer protecting it. It was becoming the chain itself. The brightest light is not the one that shines forever, but the one that gives others a new beginning. Only one chain remained. The eclipse beast stood between Rowan and the imprisoned sun. Its body had become enormous. Darkness poured from its wings like an endless storm. The sky above the kingdom had split in two. One half was filled with golden light, the other with endless night. The beast looked at Rowan and smiled. "You still don't understand. If I die, so does the magic that holds the sun together. You cannot save the world without destroying it." For the first time, Rowan hesitated. "What do you mean?" The beast raised one giant claw toward the sun. "When the first kings captured me, they chained both of us together. I became the prison. The sun became the prisoner. If one falls, the other falls too." Rowan lowered Dawnbringer. Everything had been a lie. There was no final battle, no perfect ending, only an impossible choice. The beast stepped closer. "You can still leave. Walk away. The world will remain frozen, but it will survive. Kill me, and the sun dies with me." Silence filled the tower. Rowan looked at the frightened people below. Children, parents, families. Then he remembered. His mother, his grandfather, the guardian, Lucian. Every person he had met had taught him the same lesson. Love was never about refusing to let go. It was about giving others a future. Rowan slowly smiled. "There is another way." The beast laughed. "There isn't." Rowan looked at Dawnbringer. The sword wasn't glowing anymore. Instead, it reflected his own face. Then, he understood. The guardian had never called it the strongest sword. He had called it the sword of truth. The truth was simple. The chains weren't holding the sun. They were feeding on fear. As long as someone believed darkness could never end, the chains would always return. Rowan raised Dawnbringer toward the sky. He wasn't aiming at the beast. He wasn't aiming at the sun. He aimed at the final chain. "I don't fight because I'm fearless. I fight because hope is stronger than fear." With every ounce of strength he had left, he swung the sword. A beam of pure golden light shot across the heavens. The final chain shattered. For one terrifying second, everything became silent. Then, the sun exploded into brilliant light. Warmth rushed across the kingdom. The darkness covering the mountains disappeared. The rivers sparkled. The flowers opened. The trees swayed in the wind. For the first time in centuries, the world saw a real sunrise. The eclipse beast looked at the light, not with hatred, but with peace. I had forgotten what it felt like. Its body slowly dissolved into countless stars. Instead of screaming, it smiled. Then, it vanished forever. Far away, in the village of Alaris, people stepped out of their homes. Children laughed, birds returned. The frozen river flowed once more. Elias stood on the old hill. As the first rays of sunlight touched his face, he closed his eyes. My boy, you did it. Rowan watched the sunrise in silence. He had lost people. He had lost pieces of himself. But he had given the world its tomorrow. As the golden light covered the kingdom, a gentle breeze carried a familiar whisper. His mother's voice, soft, warm, and peaceful. I'm proud of you, Rowan. He smiled, not because she had returned, but because he had finally learned how to let her go. The sun climbed higher into the sky. A new day had begun, and for the first time, the future belonged to everyone. The kingdom where nobody could dream. Some people fear nightmares, but the greatest tragedy is a world that stops dreaming altogether. Every morning in the quiet village of Ashvale, people shared their dreams. It was an old tradition. Children laughed while describing impossible adventures. Old people smiled as they remembered loved ones who had visited them in sleep. Even strangers greeted each other with the same question. What did you dream last night? Dreams were more than stories. They gave people hope. Hope for tomorrow. Hope that life could become something greater. Among those villagers lived a 16-year-old boy named Noah. He wasn't the strongest. He wasn't the smartest. He was simply curious. Every morning, Noah wrote his dreams in a small notebook his mother had given him years ago. On the first page, she had written, "Never ignore your dreams. Sometimes they remember things that your heart has forgotten." His mother had disappeared when he was only 8 years old. No one knew where she had gone. Some believed she had left. Others believed she had died. Noah believed neither. He believed one day he would find the truth. That morning, he opened his notebook. He smiled. Last night's dream was still fresh in his mind. A giant tree made of silver, birds with glowing wings, a river flowing upward into the sky. He quickly wrote everything down before he forgot. His grandfather, Oliver, looked over his shoulder. You still write every dream? Noah nodded. What if one of them means something? Oliver smiled softly. Then I hope it finds you before you find it. Noah laughed. He had no idea those words would soon become true. That evening, Ashvale celebrated the Festival of Lanterns. Hundreds of paper lanterns floated into the night sky. People made wishes. Children ran through the streets. Music echoed across the village. Everything felt peaceful. Just before midnight, something strange happened. Every lantern stopped moving. The wind disappeared. The stars flickered. For a single heartbeat, the entire sky turned completely black. No moon, no stars, nothing. Then, everything returned to normal. People looked around in confusion. Some laughed, others ignored it. Only an old woman standing near the village well whispered, "It has begun." Nobody heard her. The next morning, Noah woke up as usual. He reached for his notebook. He smiled. Then, his smile faded. He couldn't remember his dream, not even a single image. He frowned. That had never happened before. Outside, voices filled the streets. People looked confused. Children were asking questions. Parents looked frightened. Everywhere Noah listened, he heard the same words. I can't remember my dream. Neither can I. I didn't dream at all. By noon, the entire village had realized the impossible. Not one person could remember dreaming. Not a single child. Not a single elder. Not anyone. That evening, Noah opened his notebook again. The pages were still there. His old dreams were written clearly. But something was different. The last page, The one he had written yesterday was completely blank, as if the dream had never existed. A cold breeze entered through the window. The pages turned by themselves. They stopped on the very first page. Below his mother's handwriting, a new sentence slowly appeared, written in golden ink. A sentence that had never been there before. When the last dream is forgotten, find the girl who still remembers. Noah's heart began to race. He looked out of the window. Far beyond the sleeping village, he saw a small figure standing alone on the hill. A girl, holding a lantern that glowed with a strange blue light. She looked directly at Noah. Then, she vanished. Some memories are too powerful. Even darkness cannot steal them. The next morning, Noah couldn't stop thinking about the girl on the hill. Who was she? Why had she disappeared? And how did the message in his notebook know about her? Before sunrise, he quietly left his house. The village was unusually silent. No children were talking about dreams. No neighbors smiled. Everyone looked empty, as if something inside them had quietly disappeared. Noah climbed the same hill where he had seen the mysterious girl. Only the cold wind greeted him. No footprints, no lantern, nothing. He sighed. Maybe he had imagined everything. Just as he turned to leave, a soft blue light appeared between the trees. His heart skipped a beat. The girl stepped out of the mist. She looked about Noah's age. She wore a dark blue cloak. In her hand, the same blue lantern glowed gently. She looked directly at him. "You came." Noah slowly nodded. "Who are you?" "My name is Lyra." "You still dream?" Noah frowned. "I don't. I forgot my dream like everyone else." Lyra slowly shook her head. "No, you forgot the dream, but the dream hasn't forgotten you." Noah didn't understand. What does that mean? Instead of answering, Lyra held up her lantern. The blue flame suddenly grew brighter. A single glowing feather floated out of the flame. It touched Noah's forehead. Suddenly, images flashed through his mind. A castle floating above the clouds. Millions of glass bottles glowing beneath the moon. A man wearing a crown made of black crystal. Then, everything vanished. Noah fell to one knee. What was that? Lyra looked toward the dark forest. The place where every dream in the world is kept. The Dream Kingdom. Noah stared at her. It exists? It used to. Now, it belongs to someone else. A loud church bell suddenly echoed across Ashvale. The ground trembled. Villagers slowly walked out of their homes. But something was wrong. Every person walked in the same direction. Their faces showed no emotion. Their eyes looked empty. Noah called out, "Grandfather." Oliver didn't even look at him. He simply kept walking. Lyra whispered, "It's beginning. They're becoming sleepwalkers. If we don't stop it, they'll soon forget more than dreams. They'll forget who they are." Noah looked at the silent crowd. Fear filled his heart. What do we do? Lyra pointed toward the distant mountains. We find the Dream Kingdom before the last dream disappears forever. At that moment, the blue lantern flickered violently. A deep voice echoed from inside its flame. "You found the boy, but you are already too late." The flame turned black. Then, it went out. Everything around them became silent. Far away, high above the clouds, two glowing eyes slowly opened. Someone had just discovered Noah. Sometimes, the first step into another world is taken by someone who has nothing left to lose. Noah looked at the black flame inside Lyra's lantern. It had completely disappeared. Only a thin trail of smoke remained. "Who was that?" Noah whispered. Lyra's face turned pale. "The Dream King. He knows your name now." Noah felt a chill run down his spine. "He can see us?" Lyra nodded. "He can see anyone who still remembers hope." The village bell rang again. This time, It sounded slower, heavier. Noah looked toward Ashvale. The villagers were still walking, silently. None of them spoke. None of them blinked. They moved like people following an invisible command. Oliver was among them. His eyes were empty. His face showed no emotion. Noah ran toward him. "Grandfather." He grabbed Oliver's shoulders. "It's me." Oliver slowly turned his head. For a brief second, there was recognition in his eyes. Then it disappeared. He gently pushed Noah's hands away. "I'm sorry. I don't know who you are." Those words shattered Noah's heart. His own grandfather had forgotten him. Lyra stepped forward. "We have to leave. If we stay, the Dream King will erase your memories too." Noah looked at the village one last time. The streets were silent. The lanterns no longer glowed. Even the children stood motionless. Ashvale no longer felt like home. It felt like a place waiting to fall asleep forever. Without another word, Noah followed Lyra into the forest. The deeper they walked, the stranger the world became. The trees were taller than mountains. Silver leaves floated through the air without ever touching the ground. Tiny blue lights danced between the branches. None of them made a sound. After several hours, they reached a cliff. Beyond it, there was nothing. Only endless clouds. Noah looked around in confusion. There's no path. Lyra smiled softly. There isn't. Until someone believes. She placed her blue lantern on the edge of the cliff. Its light spread across the empty air. Slowly, a bridge of glowing glass appeared. It stretched through the clouds toward a massive floating gate. The gate was carved from black stone. Across its surface, thousands of sleeping faces were etched into the rock. As Noah stepped closer, the faces opened their eyes. Together they whispered, "Who seeks the kingdom of dreams?" Lyra answered, "The boy who still remembers." The gate remained silent. Then it spoke again. "What has he brought?" Noah looked at his empty hands. "I don't have anything." The faces smiled sadly. "Everyone brings something. Fear, hope, love, regret. What do you carry?" Noah closed his eyes. He thought of his mother, his grandfather, his village, the people who no longer remembered who they were. Then he answered, "I carry hope." For several seconds, nothing happened. Then, the enormous gate slowly opened. Golden light poured through the opening. Warm air touched Noah's face. Beyond the gate stood a kingdom unlike anything he had ever imagined. Floating islands drifted through the sky. Crystal waterfalls flowed upward into the clouds. Millions of glowing bottles covered endless towers. Each bottle held a different dream. Beautiful, strange, and forgotten. Lyra smiled. "Welcome to the kingdom where nobody could dream." Far above the kingdom, inside the tallest black tower, a man wearing a crown of dark crystal slowly opened his eyes. He looked toward Noah and quietly smiled. "The dreamer has finally arrived."